Today I'm going to show you how I make my resin geode coasters. I had a good old friend request that I teach her how to make them, so that's what we're going to do today. And as you can see, the color scheme we're going to do is a smoky purple and smoky blue. Of course, you can do this with any colors, and I am going to show you how. So if you are interested, keep on watching. Okay, the first thing that's important, make sure that you pour resin on a surface that's level. I actually do this on my kitchen table because some of the tables in my art room are not always perfectly level. So your resin won't level itself out and you'll have crooked coasters. So that's the most important thing. Always cover your surface because resin will get all over and make a mess and you can't get it off some surfaces. The resin I'm using, Dr. Crafty resin. I've used a few different kinds. This is pretty good. Really any kind of tabletop resin works. You're going to need a whole bunch of different cups to mix your different colors and glitters in. You're going to need glitter or foils, whatever you want to add to make it sparkle. I use mica powders. And I also use alcohol ink. I'm going to talk about these when we get into mixing our colors. The forms I got on Amazon, they were called Geode Coaster forms. They're silicone forms. I've heard of people being able to make these themselves. Just use a silicone baking mat and use silicone out of a tube and you can form your own coaster. I haven't done it, but I've heard people doing that. So if you don't want to buy these, I don't remember how much these cost, but I don't think they were a whole lot. Now before I start mixing my resin, it's important to have some stirring sticks, wooden ones, gloves. I'm a messy person. It's going to get all over yourself, so wear some gloves. Now the coasters we're doing today, they're actually going to be two different colors. The decor we're trying to match is cream, which we're not going to use that much cream, gray, smoky blue, and smoky purple. I have silver and pearl white, which we're going to use. And the two alcohol inks I have picked out are Eggplant by Ranger, and this is what the color swatch looks like. I think mixed with some of that mica, it's going to look smoky. And then I picked out Slate by Keelty. I think that's a nice smoky blue color. The bling bling I'm using is just some holographic glitter. I've got some more holographic glitter that's in triangular chunks and silver foil. This is Casting Craft Opaque Pigment. My white alcohol ink didn't always get it opaque, so I went ahead and bought that. This works pretty good. I always use this cup right here for my coasters because I know if I make 400, I'm guessing that's milliliters, 400 milliliters of resin, it makes 4 coasters nicely. And you want to make sure that you read the directions on your resin. Mine is half and half. Get it perfect and then mix the bejesus out of it. It's very important. All right, we've got this mixed thoroughly. We're looking good. Now I've set out my little cups. I like to pour my resin in the cups first. So I mix my foil in with the resin so it sinks. If you don't mix it in and just put it on the top of your geode, it'll just stay at the top. It won't mix in and look natural. I'm also going to throw some of these holographic flakes in with this because I don't have as many glitters going on for this one as I normally do. These are really heavy and tend to sink to the bottom, but every once in a while you'll get one float around and you'll be able to catch it in the light. All right, stir it around, and that's what it looks like. I'm going to do the white next. It just takes a couple of drops of this. If you add too much of this or your alcohol ink, it'll thin out your resin too much and it won't set up properly. Beware. Stir it up really good because at first you don't think you have enough color in there, but you probably do. You just got to stir the bejesus out of it. Alright, and that looks pretty good. Barely opaque. Now we're going to go for this eggplant. Squeeze some of that in there. I'm going to stir it up first, and I'm going to slowly add some mica to it. I don't always, most times I just use the color straight like this, and I don't add anything to it. But I'm going to this time to make it a smoky color. And the mica powders are a lot heavier than my alcohol ink. So whatever has the mica powders in it compared to, say, this one, this mixture is going to be heavier, so it's going to sink to the bottom of the geode. And that's something to keep in mind when you're making rings, because no matter whatever the mica is mixed with, it's going to sink. So you've got to pour accordingly. And you might even have to let it set up for 20-30 minutes and then pour a mica ring to make it stay on the top. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to add a little bit of this dark silver mica. When I say a little bit, I really mean a little bit. Just about that much. I'm going to start there. Almost too much mica. Look how dark it got. You can barely tell it's purple, but you still can. So we're not going to put so much in the blue. Here's our slate. I'm going to start with only this much, actually. A little bit of these mica powders goes a long way. That looks pretty good. All right, I have 2 more cups. I'm going to start out with just our silver, but it might be too dark, but we'll see. I can add some pearl to it to brighten it up. Okay, this looks like a good silverish gray to me. So I want to stop right there. I didn't mix anything in this cup. I'm going to leave it clear and put it off to the side in case we need any more of these to fill up our coasters. And it's not a bad idea to have some clear left to the side. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to move some of this other stuff out of my way. I'm going to start off with the purple around the outside edge. I always like to end with my foil or sparkly shades in the middle. So now I'm going to start in the middle and just pour out. Start making rings. You see that? Now it's almost up to the top, but not quite. Like I said, that white might sink to the bottom, so you might have to add some more white in later. So I don't fill these up all the way, because you might have to add stuff at a later time. So I'm going to leave this set, and this is going to change. This isn't going to look like this in 30 minutes. So you'd be surprised of how the resins float around and do their own thing. And that's half the magic. You don't know what they're going to do. We have a little bit of white left, but I don't know if I'm going to need it. Let me take off my gloves and kind of show you what we got going on. Okay. So here's one that's got a lot of white in it, but I think in a time you're going to see a little bit more of that blue color, but I like the way this looks. Here's the last one we did. We got a lot of things going on in here. In fact, I think I'm going to add a little more silver to the middle. Like so. Okay. That one's going to be done. And over here, I went ahead, this has been sitting for, this is the first one we did, and it's been sitting a while. So I went ahead and put a little bit of white around the outside edge to kind of give it that geode crusty look. And the white is going to mix in and do something really cool around the edge. So it's not going to look like this when it's done. And you only know that from pouring and experience. And this is another one. This is a nice pretty blue one. And I'm going to leave this be. All right, I'm going to let these guys dry. You will see these finished ones at the end of the video. First, I got to let them dry for 24 hours, and I take them out of the molds, let them dry for a few more hours, and I finish the edges. These coasters have set for about 24 hours. Now I'm going to take them out of the molds. They are still a little flexible. You can feel them. They're still a little flexible. So we're going to take them out of the molds very carefully, and then we're going to let them still dry on our parchment paper for another probably 12 hours before we do the next step. The next step is going to be finishing the edges. So let's open these up and see what they look like. So here's the front. And the back of this one doesn't look overly special, but that's okay. Sometimes the backs look better than the fronts, so you always want to check. And these can go either way, obviously. So there's our first one. I wish that we had a little more colors, but this is more of a gray and cream colored, which is fine. Now for these, don't worry about the stuff in the middle because I actually grind. You can leave it. Like you can leave the edges look a little rough because the insider geodes are rough. Whatever you'd like to do, but sometimes I sand them down. Now you can leave that there if you'd like. So here's the front, very pretty. This one turned out very nice. And here's the back. Actually doesn't look bad either. So it looks pretty cool too. Okay, and here's the last one. This one turned out nice. It's a nice purple color. Unfortunately, some of my foil is sticking up. I don't know if I'm going to leave it like that or if I'm going to sand it down, because technically these are coasters, and you don't want stuff sticking up like that. But we'll see. Sometimes it doesn't have the same effect if you sand some of that down. Okay. The front is definitely better on this one. So we'll see what I'll do about that. I haven't decided. So I'm going to let these rest for a little longer to let them harden up. Our geodes have sat actually for a couple of days. And now it's time to drill some of the sides or sand down some of the sides. As you can see, like this one has a bump in the middle. And these are coasters. If I knew these were going on the wall or something for display, I wouldn't bother sanding this down. But since I am selling this as a coaster, I want to get this little bump off here. And the sides kind of curve up. I don't know if I can get it on camera. Maybe a little bit. All the sides curve up a little bit, and I also just file them smooth to make my coaster flat. I also am going to, well, you can just pull these little things out because it's hard now. But then in the middle here, we also have that slope, and I'll drill that or sand that down. You can leave these insides. I mean, if you're doing this yourself and you like this look, like there's nothing wrong with that. That looks like a geode. It looks just fine. You can leave that if that's the desired look you want. I'm making coasters, so I'm going to take out that middle section. And I'm going to show you one of my little drill sanders. This is actually for acrylic nails, and I have certain tips that I use for this resin. Same stuff, it's all plastic. And then I have smaller ones for doing these inside edges, because now I will put silver or gold on the outside of these. So I don't have to sand this down really smooth, but the inside I don't, so I want to use a very fine tip so this looks not sanded and looks all nice. So let me do one for you real quick. Alright, the sanding has been done on this guy. Now if you don't like, for one thing, you don't even have to file yours. You can use a nail, like an emery board if you want to, if you have some chunks sticking up. But if you don't like how that looks sanded, and sometimes that'll happen, or my sander will slip and go across my geode and make a big scratch in it. What I do is on my next batch that I pour, I take a little bit of the resin on an old paintbrush, and you can just touch up areas and make them look smooth and shiny again. But since this is a geode, I'm going to leave the inside of that looking just like that. And our next step is to finish our outside edges on top. So my last step is, since we have silver accents in these, I'm going to use a silver paint pen. This one just happens to be by Krylon. It's a silver leafing pen. You could also use paint. It has to be like an acrylic, because remember, this is like a resin plastic. Just make sure, I mean, I guess you can use an oil base. I think these pens are oil based, but if you have like a jar of acrylic paint laying around, that will also work. Or you can just leave your edges as is. I like to bling them out. So I shake this guy up real good. And you have to push this tip down a couple of times to kind of get it flowing. Alright, the sides are done. I think my paint pen's running out, so hopefully I can get this last one done here and not run to Michael's to get another one. But then I also take a little bit on the edge. Let me set it down. And you can go as far out as you want. And sometimes I don't make it all the same thickness coming out. Yeah, my paint pen's kind of dying, so hopefully. I don't make it all the same thickness. And there's one done. I'm going to continue to try to get this through the next 3, and we'll look at them all finished. And here are our beautiful finished geodes. Ta-da! Anyway, I hope somebody got some use out of this video. If you like my tutorials please give this a thumbs up. Let me know down below if you already make things out of resin or if you plan on trying this, and I will see you in my next video, folks. Bye!